Cry loud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show thy people their transgressions. Yeah, so I'm a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Yahweh Shai on our side, so don't try to move us. We got next, and this wicked king is almost over. For our people, edification, my folks, soldiers. Isaiah 58:1. They let the trumpet blow. Hey, we them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. They let the trumpet blow. It's time to let them know. We them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. To cry loud, spare none, show them transgressions. For my people never consider they the real Jews. History stolen with that whip, got our back bruised. Still dying in the ghettos, got us trapped in this matrix. Time to open up your eyes, it's too real. We can't fake it. The Most High's on its way back soon. The whole reason why we went into slavery, cause we broke the commandments. Deuteronomy 28:68. Who is this nation of people? Not the seed of Ham, but the seed of Shem. From the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Revelation 2:9. Don't let these fake Jews tell you a lie. In due time, they all bow down. I wanna get my crown and stand firm in this truth. I'm Mashiach Yahweh Shai, that's his Hebrew name. Wasn't no J's in the Hebrew letter. So I carry this truth like I carry my sweater in the winter cold. This what you ain't been told. Esau is cover blown. We let the trumpet blow and let all my ox know that you a set apart nation, ain't compared to none. And when the Most High return, these other nations done. Isaiah 14:1, we gon' possess the land, and they gon' try to cleave. And the Most High said it all is book of prophecy, a hard pill to swallow, but when that light shine, it's real bright, and the Most High is our lifeline. So Kwam Yasharala rise, O Israel. Hey Kwam Yasharala rise, O Israel. It's time for you to wake up out your sleep. Romans 13:11, our salvation is near. Lift up thy voice in the streets so the whole world hear. Yeah, so I'm a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Yahweh Shai, he on our side, so don't try to move us. We got it next. Hey man, this wicked kingdom is almost over. For our people, edification, my folks, soldiers. Isaiah 58:1. Say let the trumpet blow. Say we them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. Say let the trumpet blow. It's time to let them know. We them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. Hey, let the trumpet blow. It's time to let them know. We them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. Would you denounce wicked traditions or not? Go to church on pagan Sundays, don't keep the Sabbath at all. That's why we standing on these corners, get this message to y'all. That you living in the wicked world, they knowledge is flawed. Full of satanic practices. The Vatican worship the Black Madonna on the low. While we die from Planned Parenthood, this is woe. Why you think we quoting scriptures, going head up with the beast, spreading righteousness ooze, leaving our enemies duped. This institution is through. We got the spirit of a lion and the power of Yeshaya. There's no way we could expire. I'm on fire. The Messiah is the root of the fire that be all up in my bones. And the prophet ain't respected at his home, but the truth won't stop. Don't try to make us to be wrong. In the scriptures bear witness to the things that we speak. Blow them trumpets, blow them trumpets. We them Israelites, man, and we 12 tribes deep. Hear the message that we speak. Blow them trumpets, blow them trumpets. We them Israelites, man, and we 12 tribes deep. Hear the message that we speak. Well, I'm a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Yahweh Shai, he on our side, so don't try to move us. We got next, amen.
All right, shalom, shalom, shalom. Most High blessed, most High blessed. It's your brother Kwanaf Banya Howard Banyasha Allah. Okay, we got another good lesson from my brother. He's going to introduce himself once again. He needs really no introduction. I've been knowing the brother for years, and he has some real true knowledge. But yeah, shalom to all the brothers and the sisters in the chat. Lima, Star, Michael, everybody, man. Everybody's in the chat, man. Most High bless you and your beloved family. Most High bless the listeners that like what we do, and Most High bless the haters. Hate on. All right. So what we gonna do, man? we're gonna pop it off, brother. You know, I'm sorry we late. You know what? We supposed to start at 5. We're a whole hour late. You know, we some real niggas, right? Real. We late, right? And we still went out damn overtime. You know what I mean? All right. So at the end of the day, brother, Most High bless you, man. Let's get into it. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Appreciate that. Can you hear me out here?
Yeah, loud and clear. Gotcha.
All right, cool. Again, like I said, I appreciate you. This is my elder brother, Kanath here. Like the brother said, I've known this man for a couple of years now. And I appreciate him and the time he would allow me on his platform to verbalize any of my teachings or understandings or whatever that is. So I definitely appreciate you, Ak, and what you're doing out here. Seriously, keep at it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I am Tobiah. Some people know me as Demand. You see me. You might have seen some of my YouTube channel. It's Tobiyahu. You may have seen my videos on Facebook, but I basically take a historical approach to faith. Years ago, I came into understanding. This is almost 10 years now. I came into understanding that everything I thought I knew wasn't true, and I was a person who liked to believe I knew what I was talking about. So it was a very humbling experience to me. And what I decided then was that I wasn't going to be fooled again, because one of the most disturbing things was how easily I was fooled. It wasn't even really hiding this that much. It was just, I decided I wasn't going to look. So I decided rather than take a religious, take on all of this and look at that, take a religious path, I decided to take more accurate one. So I went with history. I felt that, and I still feel that history is the best way to truly come into anything that is actually truthful, because truth is just what is actuality, what is historically true. So that is what most of my lessons are about, and most of my teachings surround. It's about what is truth and actuality rather than our faith. And so today we're going to get into this calendar thing. All right. And so I got a screen share going ahead. Bear with me. It shouldn't take too long, but I want to just show what it is we're dealing with, because some people say, we need to keep the feast days. Some people say we don't need to keep the feast days. Some people say we don't know when the feast days are, and there's all these calendars in use. So I pray that I'm able to quell any of this, and this is all in love. I do not have all the answers, and I'm not coming at you like I got all the answers. I'm standing on the shoulders of, ancient historians and people who came before me. So I'm just regurgitating information and presenting it to you, and prayerfully you will be able to receive it. I don't expect anybody to accept what I'm saying at face value. I'm giving out the information. Please look it up for yourself. Validate all things. So with that, let's go ahead and begin. So like I said, we got a lot of divisions here in Yashar. One of these divides is this calendar or reckoning of our Kadush or set apart days and how to calculate them. This calendar issue is so deep and complex, I actually had to break this up into a few different lessons. And when I did a video series on it, I did it in 3 parts. I'm just going to go over my first lesson right here, which is understanding the Enochian calendar. And before we can even understand the Enochian calendar, we have to discuss the other calendars, because they have to be discredited. So let's go all the way back in time to when calendars first came into dispute amongst the world in total. The original Roman Republic calendar consisted of 10 months, beginning in spring with March, and winter was left as an unspecified period of time, with weeks that consisted of 8-day weeks ended by a religious ritual and a public market or bazaar. So you can see it started here in March and ended in the winter months, right? And these right here became, like I said, some religious festivals. And so you can't possibly think that they had any understanding of the 7-day cycle. They went from 8-day weeks. Sometimes they had 10-day weeks. Rome was all over the place, really. The Julian calendar went into effect on 1 January 45 BCE. This is before the Common Era, by law, and was the predominant calendar in the Roman Empire, most of Europe, and the European settlements, which eventually extended to the Americas and beyond. It was continually refined and altered until it was gradually replaced by the Gregorian calendar in the 16th century CE, or the Common Era. The Julian calendar was a 365-day calendar that was divided in 12 months, with each year being 365.25 days long. Now, this measure of time, because it's like, 365 and a quarter day, that caused issues with your yearly calculations, obviously. So this was them trying to have a solar calendar because they were relating it to an older civilization that had a solar calendar. And we'll get into that in a little bit here. The Gregorian calendar is a calendar that replaced the faulty Julian calendar and provided an approximately 0.002% correction in the length of calendar to address the Julian's faults. In 1582, or the late 16th century, the Julian was replaced, and in doing so, the week in October was changed by 11 days. So pray everybody can see this. On Thursday, it went from the 4th to Friday on the 15th, right? This means that any notion of the Shabbat or the festivals that have been intact since the ancient world, it cannot be true, because 11 days throws off any cycle system in use, and the Hebrew cycles of 7 cannot be reconciled with such an alteration. That's just too many days. It just won't work. The Gregorian calendar is the current calendar in use today. This is what we all use, and this is what your children use when they go to school. This is what you use when you go to work. This is the calendar of life in the modern world. You all on the Gregorian. It is the most widely used civil calendar internationally and is named after Pope Gregory XIII, who was the one who introduced it in October of 1582 CE, like we just talked about. This calendar, it ain't even 500 years old, and it is a modification of the Julian calendar, which was the calendar in place before it, was proposed by Julius Caesar in 46 BCE, like we just said, and was itself a modification of the Roman calendar that we just went over. The Gregorian and the Julian had to be altered 7 times to correct the errors that they had in them. They had to keep changing this joint over and over again because it just wasn't working. Now, the reason these calendars had to be continually altered was due to the drift of the calendar with respect to the equinoxes and the solstices, and specifically the northern vernal equinox, which was used to set the date for the Romans' Easter festival. We as a people, we have lost our connection to the deeper understanding of our surroundings, in addition to our culture and our heritage. The sun travels in a pattern that brings it higher in the sky to a peak at the summer solstice, then to its lowest point at the winter solstice. And you got 2 equinoxes in between that. So this is your summer solstice. This is your longest day of the year. It typically falls around like June 19th or so. This is your winter solstice. It typically falls around December 22nd or so. And this is your longest night. And your vernal equinox, this is your northern equinox, and your tonal equinox, or your southern equinox, those are your half point. Those are equal days and equal night. That's why they call it equinox. Equinox is Latin for equal night. Now, the Gregorian, for example, had to be adjusted, or has to be adjusted, from 365-day cycle to a 366-day cycle every 4 years with the leap year, where a leap day is added, which is February 29th. And this corrects their drift. Every 4 years, this is what leap year is all about. It's correcting this drift. And I know some people believe that, well, there is no drift. You know, the days are in cycle. The Shabbat is always the same day. It never moves or whatever. Really? Well, let's take a look at this. Let's go ahead and say you were born on Saturday. This is June 2016 here. Let's say you was born on Saturday. This is Shabbat. So your birthday is a Shabbat, without a doubt. You was born on a Shabbat. That is your birthday, without question. Then you go to the next year, June 2017. Look, the 4th is now on Sunday. So you was born on June 16th on a Shabbat, on Saturday the 4th, right? And then the next year, it's on Sunday. It just moved one day. Then by the time you get to June 18th, the 4th is on Monday. So this day you were born was a Shabbat. That's without a question. However, you see the Shabbat was the 4th, and it's still moving. The Saturday that you're keeping, that is not your Shabbat. And I know a lot of people say, well, Saturday it lines up with that or whatever. Again, the Romans, it had nothing to do with that. It's moving by one day, right? Now, there's 2 things that I want to be clear here. The first is that the Gregorian calendar, which evolved from the Roman calendar, cannot be the proper calendar to utilize for festivals or for days, including your Shabbats or Shabbatut, because it and all its previous versions were created way after the festivals of the ancient Abri or the Hebrews. It was way after they was ordained. And the second point is that this isn't a perfect calendar, and the days change from year to year, which is confusion, and Yahuwah is obviously not about that confusion. These calendars are Roman models of time, which is Western. So you cannot use any of them for Eastern cultures. The ancient Abri or the Abri, the Hebrew people, this is an Eastern people. This right here is a Western culture. The years, the weeks, the months, they were not solemn or traditional times to the Romans. They lengthened or shortened their years at a whim, and their accounts of time were not established by the same precision as the ancient Yashar or the ancient Israelites. In fact, Julius Caesar, after his victory over Pompey, used his position as Rome's chief pontiff to enact the calendar reform in 46 BCE, as well as making the year of his third consulship last for 446 days. So he even changed the length of a whole year. Therefore, this calendar in all its versions cannot be observed for festivals or days that require precision from year to year. Y'all willing, we have removed the Gregorian calendar as a viable option to keep the Abri time. And now we can move on to the other calendar in question. Many of our people, Yashar today, and Jewish populations worldwide, they utilize what is called a lunar calendar. This calendar is even faultier than the Gregorian. First of all, it has to be corrected every 2 to 3 years instead of every 4 years, with the whole leap month instead of a leap day, which is an entire month as opposed to that single day, right? Because the lunar calendar is a 354-day calendar. I want y'all to keep that number in your mind, 354 days. Some will use the lunisolar calendar like the Jews, which lunar months are brought into alignment with the solar year with some process of intercalation. Intercalation is just using the sun to bring your calendars back into alignment. This is typically done with an equinox or a solstice, depending on the belief system of the users. The purely lunar calendars, such as the Islamic calendar, they lack any intercalation, and this causes the lunar month to cycle through all the seasons of the Gregorian year over the course of a 33 lunar cycle. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you know 33 is a Kabbalistic number. Now, it may definitely have some connection to the Messiah, when he died, right? He probably was 33 years old, but that is not what they use it for. It is Kabbalistic. It can be found in all kinds of Masonic symbols, as well as among other little secret societies and stuff. But we ain't gonna get into all that because that'll take too much time. The point is, this specific calendar was warned and prophesied about in Sefer Yubilim, or the Book of Jubilees, and maybe one of the reasons why it was actually removed from canon. So my brother Malachi put out a video where this guy from, I believe it was from Yale, or it may have been Harvard, I can't remember, but he was trying to explain the difference between canon and scripture. And it's actually true. Scripture is any collection of writings that you use for purposes of faith, right? Whereas canon is a set of books that are used that are ordered, and they're used by a particular religious group. So I don't particularly subscribe to any type of canon. I read everything. I look at all the information, use 2 or 3 witnesses, and decide what is legitimate based upon that. That's what I suggest everybody else do, but to each their own. Anyway, the funny thing is when you read Sefer Yubilim, or the Book of Jubilees, we read, and the children of Yashar will forget and will not find the path of years, and will forget the new months and seasons and Shabbatut, meaning the Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the orders of the years. For I know, and from henceforth, or from now on, I will declare it to you, and it is not of my own devising, for the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feast of the covenant and walk according to the feast of the Gentiles after their error and after their ignorance. So this text is warning about going after the ways of the Gentiles, after their error and their ignorance. They don't know. Verse 36 reads, for there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the season and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. Remember, we just saw 354 days was for a lunar calendar, right? Okay, keep that in mind. Like I said, for this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days of the Kadush, or set apart, with the unclean, and the unclean day with the Kadush. For they will go wrong as to the months and Shabbatut and feasts and Jubilim, or Jubilees. Last verse here. For this reason, I command and testify to you, that you may testify to them. For after your death and your children will disturb them, so they will not make the year 364 days only. What do we just read? The year comes in 10 days too soon, right? 354 days from 364 is 10 days. They were warning about the observance of lunar calendars. This is thousands of years ago. It was already in play there. And for this reason, they will go wrong as to the new months and seasons and Sabbaths and festivals, and they will eat all kinds of bloods with all kinds of flesh. All right. All calendars that are not 364 days only will cause error. The calendar given to Canuck, or who we call Enoch, consists of exactly 364 days, and the lunar or lunisolar calendars both have 354 days. Like I said, this makes them come in 10 days too soon, and it disturbs all the other days out of alignment. This text, as I just said, was written 1,000 years ago, about 2 to be exact, and testifies that for the reason of changing the year from a set 364 days, the calculation of all the festivals in the Shabbatut are now lost. Now, some may question the validity of Sefer Canuck, or the Book of Enoch, or if it contradicts the Bible. But you have to ignore scripture to believe that, as the scriptures not only teach directly from the writing, it also directly quotes it. The 66-book canon, or the Christian Bible, supports Sefer Canuck without question. Let's go ahead and prove that right quick. So we're going to go to Bereshit here, or Genesis 6, verse 1. Now it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and the daughters were born to them, that the Bnei Ha-Elohim, meaning the sons of Elohim, saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahweh said, my spirit, or my Ruach, shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were Nephilim on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the Bnei Ha-Elohim came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Now, the word used there, Nephilim, was H5303. This is Hebrews 5303. That's very important. That's a strong. We're going to be looking at that and seeing what this actually means, what this is actually saying. The text informs us that men begin to increase on the earth, right? And when the daughters were born to them, the sons of Elohim saw them and took wives of them, which created the ancient mighty men of renown. Some translations use word giants instead of Nephilim, which means fallen ones. That's literally what Nephilim means. The root of word nephal means to fall, and is where nephal or nephil is derived. The root nephal, you see, it's a noon, a foot, and a lamed. Those are the letters, 3 letters, is a verb, and it means to fall or lie. And that is, like I said, it's Hebrews 5303. These are the letters that it is right there. And that's Hebrews 5307. The word Nephilim is Hebrews H5303. And that is the word that we just saw in that passage. So this word Nephilim is a derivative of that word, the root nephal. And it's often mistranslated as giants, and it's spelled almost as its roots with a slight addition. You see, it has the same thing, the same letters, right? The noon, the foot, it's got a yud, lamed, another yud, and a mem. I'm not trying to speak the letters to all y'all. I'm just trying to show y'all the word is. It's actually the same thing that you see right here, except it's got a yud and a mem at the end of it, which typically signifies pluralism. So if someone would to spell Yehudi or somebody from the tribe of Yehuda would be Yehudi. If you were talking about plural, you would say Yehudim. You would put a yud and a mem at the end of it. The word for giants in Hebrew is Rapha, Hebrews 8:7-9-4-7, as in Rephaim, and it's different than the fall. The word is Rephaim. There's the letters right here. Again, this is a resh. It's a foot, a laf, a yud, and a mem for that plurality with those last two, and is a proper name of a people, old race of giants. That is literally the definition of that word. And I know people are wondering, what does this have to do with the calendar? This is just showing the credit Canuck, because it has everything to do with the calendar, everything. And I'll show you how. So when we go to Devarim or Deuteronomy, it reads, "For only Og, king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of the giants." That's that word we just saw. 8:7-9-4-7. That's Rephaim. Indeed, his bedstead was an iron bedstead. Is it not in Rabbah of the people of Ammon? 9 cubits is his length, and 4 cubits his width, according to the standard cubit. Verse 20 reads, "That was also regarded as the land of the giants." This is in Devarim. This is 2:20 here. So the land of what? The Rephaim. Giants, again, Rephaim formerly dwelt there, but the Ammonites called them Zumazumim. So this image right here we're using, this is just for scale. With it, we can see just how big some of these creatures were. On the far left here, we got a man who was about 6 feet in height. Now, this is considered tall for a man because the average man is about 5'10", right? So you see him right there, 6 foot, right? And as we go all the way over to the end, you see somebody who is over 30 feet. And so this is what we're talking about right here, right? This is why some of the accounts in the Bible seem so absurd to some people, because an average sized man would look almost like a bug or a small animal to someone who was this size. These things were really, really big. And just to give some examples so people can put this in the context here so they can see not just cartoon pictures, but actual pictures. 9 cubits equate to about 14 feet. He was a giant, this Og of Bashan, and according to scripture, was the only remnant of the great giants. The picture here on the left is from the early 20th century, early 1900s. This was at some Icelandic convention. And this guy was representing his people. Now look at Shorty right here compared to him, right? Right. This is an Anglo giant that is no more than about maybe 8 feet. And on the right here, we have Asian, or what some would call a Moabi or a Moabite, right? Who stands about 7.5 feet. Neither of these men are as tall as Og of Bashan was by almost half. So he was 14 feet. He towered over these guys right here. So this is what we're talking about. And he wasn't even as big as some of the other creatures that lived there. So we're going to Shema Al Beit, or 2 Samuel 5:18. This is the second witness to this. The Philistines also went and deployed themselves in the valley of Rephaim. There we go. Rephaim 8:7-9-4-7. Giants. Bamadabar, or Numbers 13:32 and 13:33. We read, "The land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants." They was eating people. "And all the people whom they saw in it are men of great stature," right? There we saw the Nephal. Now, the word they used there is H5303. So this is not the same word as 8797. Not at all. It's still called giants in some of your translation, but this is saying something different, which is why it's very important that you go back and you actually study what's being said. The descendants of Anak came from the Nephal, or some texts will say giants, and we were like grasshoppers in our own sight. And so we were in their sight. So you see, they're looking at this and they're like, yo, we're like insects, like I just said. And our sight to them, we look like bugs to them. And to them, we look like bugs, right? Cool. The Nephil or Nephal, H5303, and Rapha, H7947, are 2 distinct races of pre-flood or antediluvian people that managed to still exist after the Great Deluge. Og Bashan was the last of the Rafah, and the Anakim were an example of the Nephal existing in the time prior to the flood and also afterwards. That's why the text said they existed at that time and also afterwards. The Anakim existed afterwards. Cool. And right here we got a Peruvian skull, so people can see this is a elongated skull. Some of these bodies that these things came from were over 10 feet. Again, the pictures I just showed you, those guys were not even 9 feet. One was 8 feet, one was 7.5. These tower over them. And where you had Beit Lacham, or the house of bread, Beit Lacham is house of bread, and Yerushalayim, or the Salem, Shalom, right? The valley of Rephaim, this is the land right here where all this went down at. These things was deep, and they was eating people. Cool. So, Safar Yubalim, chapter 7, is the first witness to the varying races before the deluge. This is, I'm going to use what people would, like I said, they will talk about their canon, but I'm going to prove all things here with the text. So 721 reads, for owing to these three things came the flood upon the earth. So these three things were the reason why the flood came into the earth. Namely, owing to the fornication wherein the watchers against the law of their ordinances went a whoring after the daughters of men, and took themselves wives of all they chose, and they made the beginning of uncleanness. This is why the flood happened, y'all. What they were doing, they was eating things, they were eating people, they were eating flesh, and they were creating an offspring of race that were not from Yah. Verse 22 reads, and they begat sons, the Nephidim, and they were all unalike, and they devoured one another. Again, cannibalism. And they also would begin of eating flesh, but that's another topic for another study. And the giants, meaning the Rafah, slew the Nephal. And the Nephal slew the Elio, and the Elio mankind, and one man another. So Safar Kanuk, or the book of Enoch, chapter 7:11, is the second witness to the other races existing before the flood. These are races that are outside humans. Now, I'm sure people have seen them talk about Neanderthal man and all this stuff that they weren't, typically your other branches of human. There were other branches of creatures that we saw on Earth that were not human. This is what it's talking about. So verse 7:11 reads, and they, meaning the woman in this context, bore to them, meaning the watchers in this context, three races. First, the great giants. The giants brought forth. Some versions of the text, depending on which one you're reading, say slew, the Nephilim. And the Nephilim brought forth or slew the Elioi. And they existed, increasing in power according to their greatness. Now, I'm not sure how many people actually study history or whatever have you, but this whole narrative seems awfully similar to the Clash of Titans told by the Greeks. This is how you have Medusa being slayed by, the dude with the shield, right? There's also the Anunnaki's tale told by ancient Sumer, how these giant creatures going around crushing everything, right? It also is very similar to the Vedas told in India. They had these creatures who were crazy. Some were animals, some were blue, had many heads, arms, animal parts, and whatnot, supernatural powers, lived for a long time, and they had a great war between them. All of them reflect the same thing. All three refer to a clash of monsters created by what we would call deities today, which almost destroyed the whole world. The most common resistance to Safar Kanuk as an inspired writing is the notion that the Malachim came down and defiled themselves with women. Some people just cannot handle it. They cannot take that. That notion itself rubs people the wrong way. They don't like it. And again, I'm not here to insult anyone's faith. I'm just trying to show you what's real historically. Some will claim, they will rectify all this by claiming that the term B'nai Ha-Elohim, which means sons of Elohim, is a reference to the good sons of Seth or Seth that went into the bad daughters of Cain or Cain. But that isn't supported by scripture anywhere. In fact, the term B'nai Ha-Elohim is a phrase used multiple times in scriptures, and it refers directly to Malachim or angels, just as suggested. Ayub, or Job, as it's translated, is a book that is the first witness that the sons of Elohim means Malachim or angels. 1:6 reads, now There was a day when the Bani Ha-Elohim, meaning the sons of Elohim, came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan also came among them. 2:1 reads, and there was a day when the Bani Ha-Elohim, sons of Elohim, came to present themselves before Yahweh, and Satan came also among them to present himself before Yahweh. Now, unless we believe that Hasatan travels to Yahweh with the good sons of Sheth, that phrase cannot be in respect to mankind, but rather to the Malachim, just as it suggests. So we're going to use Lucas or Luke 20:36 as the second witness to this phrase, meaning Malachim. It reads, nor can they die anymore, for they are equal to the Malachim, meaning messengers or angels, and are Bani Ha-Elohim, or sons of Elohim, being sons of the resurrection. So that's what it means. When it tells you you're going to be the Bani Ha-Elohim, it means you're going to be like Malachim or angels. So you won't die anymore because they were immortal beings. That's what this is talking about. The good sons of Sheth were not immortal beings, right? So this immortality is defined as being equal to Malachim, right? And this means that Malachim left their estate in Shamayim, or the heavens above, and consorted with women, which produced men who were powerful and legendary. We're talking about figures that you've heard before: Zeus, Hercules, Thor, all these names that are thrown around. These are ancient men with powers of eternal renown. And the standard 66 book canon agrees with this sentiment in every single way. We're going to prove this in Yehuda. This is Yahusha's, or the Messiah's, younger brother. They call him Jude. His name is Yehuda. Chapter 1 is the first witness to this agreement. Verse 6 reads, and the Malachim, who did not keep their proper domain, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day. Verse 7 reads, and Sodom and Amorah, or Sodom and Gomorrah, and the cities around them in a similar manner to these, so just like these, having given themselves over to sexual immorality and gone after strange flesh, are set forth as an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal life. As I just said, Yehuda is one of the 12 and the brother to Yaakov, or James the Just, Yaakov Sadiq. He's using the example of the Malachim who left their place and profaned themselves with women as a lesson about Sodom and Amorah, who did the same thing and were destroyed. And these Malachim are locked up in eternal darkness until the day of judgment. So when we go to the book of Enoch, or Canuck 10:15, we'll see where Yehuda received his understanding from. Where is he getting all this from? He's getting it from the same material that everybody was reading in that time period. Sefer Canuck, or the book of Enoch. 10:15 reads, to Michael, this is the archangel Michael. Likewise, Adonai said, go and announce to Shemyatza, this is one of the watchers that didn't do what they were supposed to, and to the others who are with him and who have been associated with women. This is the strange flesh they went after, that they may be polluted with all their impurity, and with all their sons shall be slain, or when all their sons shall be slain, when they shall see the perdition of their beloved, bind them for 70 generations underneath the earth until the day of judgment and the consummation, until the judgment which will last forever is completed. So if we continue to read in the book of Yehuda, this is your 66 book canon. This is your Bible, right? He even quotes Sefer Canuck directly, just for emphasis. Verse 14 reads of chapter 1. Now Canuck, he's telling you who I'm quoting here, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about these men also, saying, behold, the master comes with 10,000s of his saints. Verse 15, to execute judgment on all, to convict all who are wicked, among them of all their wicked deeds which they have committed in a wicked way, and of all the harsh things which wicked sinners have spoken against him. He's quoting Canuck directly, right? Verse 15 says to execute judgment on all, to convict all, right? So he's talking exactly about this conviction, right? So we read 2:1 from Canuck. Behold, he comes with 10,000 of his Kudushim. Kudushim simply means dedicated or chosen ones. Some translate that as saints. Same thing, 10,000 of them, right? To execute judgment upon them and to destroy the wicked and to reprove all the carnal for everything which is sinful and evildoers have done and committed against him. Same language, same thing. This is where he's getting it from. Kafar Bait, or 2 Peter chapter 2, is a second witness to this, right? Just so people can see that this is in your standard book. This is not something that's, off the rails here. This is there. And Sefer Canuck, or the Book of Enoch, was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was right there, along with the Book of John. So all this is legit, even older than what you call your most, treasured book, the Bible. And so it reads, verse 4, chapter 2, verse 4 reads, "For if Elohim did not spare the Malachim who sinned, but cast them down to Tartarus," this is Sheol or hell, Sheol, the grave, "and delivered them to chains of darkness, to be reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world, but saved Nuach, one of 8 people, a proclaimer of righteousness, bringing the flood on the world of the wicked." So he's talking about this. Where did he get this information from? You can't find this nowhere in the 66 book canon. It's not there. What Yehuda was talking about, nor what 2 Kafar or 2 Peter's talking about. It's nowhere in your 66 book canon. You got to go outside of that to get this information. And we get it in Canuck or Enoch. 10:6 read, again, Adonai said to Raphael or Raphael, "Bind a Satan." This is Azazel. "Hand and foot, cast him into darkness, and opening the desert," which is in Deuteral, "cast him there. Throw upon hurled and pointed stones, covering him with darkness. There he shall remain forever, cover his face, that he may not see the light." I'm emphasizing darkness, how you're supposed to be thrown into darkness here, for a reason. "And in Yom Hadin, or the great judgment day, let him be cast into the fire." So this Sefer Canuck, or the Book of Enoch, was a writing heavily utilized even up to the 1st century in the time of Mashiach. There's no denying that. It's all right there. So back to the point about the lunar calendars. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that Canuck was legitimate, because that is your calendar system. And any reason you discredit it is only because the Roman Catholic Church told us that it was not canon. They decided what you should and what you should not read. These same people who couldn't get a calendar together, they telling you it's legit. So the point about this lunar calendar thing, this calendrical system was not even created by ancient Abrim, right? The ancient Israelites did not make this, nor was it utilized by them for festivals or Shabbatut, or Sabbaths. The lunisolar calendar was probably created by Hellenized Yehudim, or specifically the Jews, which, as I've shown before, are actually Edomites, who remained after the exile in 70 CE. These calendars require the observation of what is called a new moon, or the first crescent after the actual new moon, which is an empty or totally dark moon. Some will claim that a dark moon as a new moon is westernized or lies of the white man or whatever, but that doesn't even seem relevant to me, as the practice of the observance of the crescent moon is not new and symbolic of the ancient worship of bulls during the age of Taurus, of which indicates the processions of the equinoxes. So every year what you have happen is the equinox comes and the stars move in the sky. And as they go, the equinox sets in a different constellation, or it continues to move. It lasts sometimes for thousands of years. You have different ages, right? You have age of Aquarius, which we're supposed to be going into, and age of Taurus. Age of Taurus was of the ancient world, is why you saw so much bull worship going on, right? So that's what you see right here, this bull, right? And this star on his head. The observation of the new moon in respects to months is actually from Greek culture as far back as 750 BCE, and it originated from moon worship through a deity known to them as Selene or Diana. There's your Wonder Woman, right? Same person. Your Statue of Liberty as the same person. And just as her brother Helios, which is where the word holy is derived from his association with Apollo, who is called Phobos, meaning bright. Selene, from her identification with Artemis, who is just another form of Ishtar or Inanna, is also commonly referred to by the epithet Phoebe, which is the feminine form of Phobos Okay. There's your Statue of Liberty. There's your Selene. It's all the same thing, right? It's all the same thing. Nothing has really changed. Apollo is understood in the Abrit or Hebrews to be the fallen one locked under the earth according to scriptures. Remember that being we were talking about that was locked in darkness? It was in darkness. You chained them to the great day or whatnot. That's Apollo, right? So here we go. Kazun or Revelation 9:11. They had a king over them, the Malik, that's angel of the abyss, whose name in Abrit is Abaddon, and in the Greek is Apollyon, that is destroyer. We compare this with Canuck or Enoch 10:6. Again, we read, and Adonai said to Raphael, bind the sets of all, right? Azazel, hand and foot, cast him in the darkness, and open the desert, which is in Deuteral, cast him there. All the earth has been corrupted by the effects of the teaching of Azazel. To him, therefore, ascribe the whole crime. So the Abrit or the Hebrew people, they put everything on him. Everything that happened with the fallen, with this great war, all this stuff, it happened because of them. And even in Kazun and Revelation, it talks about a war that happened in heaven. So, I mean, anybody who doesn't want to see this, not to be insulting, but this is just because your dogma or your doctrine won't allow you to look outside and see what is actually there. The text is very clear here. And so I want to show you this chart, right? I want you to look at this. This is what we're talking about. So Nimrod or Nimrod was in your Bible. Ishtar, that's also in your Bible. Tammuz, also in your Bible. All of them are there. This is where it all started, from ancient Babylon. It translated over to Egypt. They became Osiris, Isis, and Horus. It went to Persia. It became Baal or Bel, Inanna, what we just talked about, Mithra, right? It went to the Greeks. It became Zeus, Semiramis, Bacchus. It went to the Roman Empire. They used Baal as well. Diana, like we just talked about. Serapis, right? That's what we did in our study. We were trying to show what they worship, Serapis. In the Renaissance period, like the 1300s, CE, the Common Era, it became Jehovah, the Virgin Mary, and Isis, or right, which we now know to be Jesus. But remember, there was no J even 500 years ago, so it was just Isis to them. In modern times today, it's Moloch, Columbia, and Jesus. That's everything right there. That's what this is, right? And when you look at study history, like for example, if you look at the Greek historian Herodotus, he explained the adoption of Greek deities came from older African ones. So the Romans got what they had, they all admit, from the Greeks. The Greeks admit they got theirs from African ones, right? The Persians got them from Africa. Everything went back to the older African ones, going all the way back to Nimrod, Ishtar, and Tammuz. Everything stemmed from them. The records of Selene and Helios are counted in Hesiod, right? Who was a Greek poet, widely considered by scholars to have been alive sometime between 750 and 650 BCE. That's that same time period we were talking about there, about their moon worship. There you got Selene right there, right? This was during the time of Homer, right? You also see Apollodorus and Ignis, Fabulous, all that stuff, all these people. I'm just giving you citations so you can see where this stuff comes from. The oldest statue of Selene is from the 5th century BCE, which we displayed earlier. This one right here on the left is from the 19th century. This is a much newer one. The oldest one is which we just showed. But I want you to notice this crescent. You see this crescent? It's in all the statues of Selene. That is not a coincidence. It is a symbolic for the worship of the crescent moon and the origin for its observation for the new month for lunar calendars. This is a common theme from the ancient world and its worship of pagan deities. It is associated with the start of the month based on a lunar observance or the moon festival of the month. Even this phrase we use, we call it new moon. The origin from that is Numenia, right? This is Greek's 33561. Numenia, right? That's new moon. That's where it came from. It's a Greek word, right? It's a part of speech. It's a noun. It's feminine. Translation, Numania, new moon. Short definition, the new moon as a festival. The new moon, first of the month. That's what this is. This has nothing to do with Yashar. This is Greek. This is seen in images of Baal or Bel, right? See that? We see it in ancient Kemet or Egypt. Look at that. There's your crescent, right? We even see it in the Islamic flags and symbols today, but it's shown its origins are far older, going back to ancient Kemet and even to earlier Sumer or ancient Sumeria. Each crescent moon has a star or a sun, right, inside of it. This symbolized the worship of Semiramis or the Queen of Heaven in unison with Nimrod. That's the crescent moon, right, and the star. So this is the stars, Nimrod. The crescent moon is Ishtar. You worship them in unison. If any more information is desired about the transition of the old deities into the modern ones, you can please check out our videos on the website Who Is Your Mighty One and Toby Yahoo on YouTube. The use, or the national use, I should say, of any lunar calendar by Yashra'al never occurred for the simple fact that it wasn't implemented until 359 CE by Hillel II, who is simply known as Hillel, who held the office of Nasi of the ancient Jewish Sanhedrin between 320 and 385 CE. It was he who first introduced the fixed new moon calendar, which is the lunisolar calendar that is based on the combining observation of the earth, moon, and sun, and is still in use today by Judaism, even to this day, for the determination of the first day of the month. Ain't nothing new under the sun. Yashra'al was as a whole were mostly dispersed by this time period in history with the destruction of the second temple, which was prophesied by Hamashiach. So let's just check that out right quick. Matthew or Matthew 24 is where we found this. It reads, Yahusha left the temple and was walking away with his Talmudim, came up to him, called his attention to the buildings. Do you see these things? He asked. Truly, I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. The temple was destroyed in 70 CE by Titus and his father Vespasian. These are the people who made the Flavian dynasty. Josephus writes this in detail and other sources as well. This was depicted here in the Arch of Titus, right here. That's it. They're walking off with the menorah after they wrecked the temple. The children of Yashra'al were expelled in 70 CE by and large due to the First Yehudi-Roman War, which was from 66 to 73 CE. And the rest of them all, I mean, everybody else was gone by the Bar Kokhba revolt, which was from 132 to 136 CE, which were both nationalist or racial rebellions with the goal of a restoration of an independent Yehudi state that was free from the Roman or the Idumean rule. This is a matter of historical record. And since they were gone, the institution of a lunar calendar by Hillel nearly 250 years after all Yashra'al was totally expelled from the city and the surrounding area through conflicts with the Romans or the Edomites, it could not have had anything to do with the actual people or ritualistic practices of that people. They was gone. So this guy Trajan, he kicked everybody out. He made it illegal. That's where you actually get the name Palestine from. He changed the name from Roman Yehuda or Judea. He changed it to Palestine because he tried to blot out the people from even being there. And so everybody was kicked out. So the people who made a calendar 250 years after that, it had nothing to do with them. This was just, like I said, the Jews, the Idumeans. What had happened was that once they removed the children of Yashra'al, the Edomites and or the Romans were not able to maintain the language, which was Aramaic at that time in history, nor the sacred days, because they weren't the people. They were not the chosen people, and they were thus blinded to the understanding of the set-apart language and customs. Without Yashra'al as a light to the nations, many are lost in understanding. The Sanhedrin, which are Edomites or Jews, therefore altered the language by the middle of the first millennia, roughly 500 CE, through the Masorites, who were groups of Idumean or Edomite Jewish scribes and scholars that changed the foundation of the faith of Yashra'al between the 6th and 10th century CE, and were based mostly in present-day Israel in the cities of Tiberias and Jerusalem and Uruk or Iraq, which was Babylonia. These were the Edomites who were of the Herodian dynasty that got to stay after Yashra'al was removed. We covered this in our discussion about the Bible. This is where you get your 66 book canon from. These guys, they made it. 1,000 years after everything happened, they made it. They gave you everything, and then they all told you what was canon and what wasn't. Each of these groups worked to create a new system of pronunciation and grammatical guides in the form of religious texts we now call the Babylonian Talmud. This was done by the various groups to standardize the foreign pronunciation to the new adoptive culture and to organize their new Jewish Bible, the Tanakh, for the worldwide Jewish community to consume. There are nearly 1,000 differences between the two prevailing Masoretic translators of Ben Ashar and Ben Naphtali. So just to show you that they ain't even agree with what they was doing themselves back then, right? And this is an example right here of the Nakud. This is where your vowel points even emerge from, as well as the change of other translations to reflect their new worship system, and where many errors started to come into play here. Like I said, they weren't the people, so they were just winging it, right? And so to make people understand what I'm saying about this vowel point system, let's take the letters here. Let's say you had two letters. You had S and M, right? Just two letters. Now, depending on how you put vowel points, that could be same. It could be some, as in sum of money. It could be some, as in I want some more. It could be a name, Sam, etc. It could be all those things. Depending on where you put vowel points, it could change that words drastically. For this reason, many people will rightfully note that the observation of the new moon is explicitly commanded by Elohim, and I am not one to counter the bar of Elohim, but men copied these texts, like I said before, and men are not like Elohim. Men are faulty creatures, right? So this term new moon, right? Or the term new moon in general, I should say. So when we look at the Bible, we say, well, it says the new moon. I see it right there, right? It's clearly, it says new moon, so it's there. That's what I'm observing. Well, you have to, again, put this in an Eastern mindset. The term new moon, or Yara'ak Kadash, in Hebrew is actually not found in the Hebrew scriptures anywhere. And the word Kudash, or month, is in reference to the solar month. So when we look at this word right here, look, Kudash, or H2320. Look at the letters, right? It's Ket, Resh, Shin, right? 3 letters. Now you see those little dots, they got all of it. That's their vowel point system. That word goes from Kudash, or H2320, which can either mean month or new month, and the word Kadash, right, which is H2318, which means new or switched. Look, it's the same letters. Ket, Resh, Shin. It's just different vowel points. Right. You see, prayerfully, you see what I'm saying here. This is a case of intentional translation errors used to support a doctrine, as the word Kadash, like I said, can mean either or. Right? Right. So the word Yarak, or H3391, Yud Resh Ket, right there, right? It means month, and in reference to a complete month. And the word Yarak, or Yud Resh Ket, or moon, were switched as well. So I hope you can see this. These are the games that they're playing here with these letters. The Abri words for moon in the Old Testament is Yara'ak, like I just showed you, H3394, right? That's moon. So this H3391, that's month. That's something totally different. Yara'ak, or moon, is used about 27 times in the standard 66 book canon of the Bible. We know what that is. It's used in there over and over in the text. We know what that is. That word is not the same. H3394 is not H3391. These are the games that are being played. So we're going to give some examples here, right? Sephar Dabarim, or the book of Deuteronomy, 4:19, 17:3, and 37:9 are just going to be a few examples here. 4:19 reads, unless you lift up your eyes to the heavens and shall see the sun and the moon, Yara'ak, that's what it is, and the stars, all the hosts of the heavens, and you be drawn to bow down to them and serve them, which Yahweh your Elohim has allotted to all the peoples under the heavens. 7:13, and has gone and served other mighty ones or deities and bowed down to them, or to the sun, or to the moon, Yara'ak, or to any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded. Barashit, or Genesis 37:9, and he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon, Yara'ak. Again, all these words are using H3394. This means moon, and the 11 stars obeisance to me, right? Everything was in obedience to him. H3994, Yara'ak, moon, original word, like I said, Yud Resh Ket, right there. Yara'ak, phonetic spelling, Yara'ak, moon. H2320, Strong's is Kudash, and can also be translated as new month. Strong's is that given the word Kodesh, okay? So I hope I'm not going too fast and people are actually picking up on that. This is a different word. Yarak, H3391, total different word, right? It's the same way you have words in English that have multiple meanings. You know, lead and lead. Those are two different things. If I said, you know, watch out for that piece of lead, right? And I'm saying I'm going to lead you somewhere. It's basically the same letters, but it's two different meanings, different words. And this is what we're dealing with here. And this word H3391 means same letters, Yud Resh Ket. It means month. Again, check this all out for yourself. This is not, I don't expect you to believe me. Just check it out for yourself. H2320 is Kudash and can also be translated as new month. Please note the short definition in Strong that is given the word Kudash. Look at it. Month. Right there. Right? Ket Reshin. Right there. It's a month, and the word mistranslated to mean new moon by a lot of translation that you're reading from these Masorites. Now, I'm going to show you a verse from Tehillim or Psalms that uses the phrase new moon that a lot of people like to go to. They say, well, it's right there. No moon, blow it at the full, the new month. We're actually viewing the text in the Abri language. I got the Strong's of it so everybody can see it. It is evident that there is no mention of the word moon at all, and only Kadash. Look, Ba Kadash. Look, Ba Kadash at the new Kadash. You see, the word Yara'ik is nowhere in this verse at all, or any others of this. It's not in there. Nowhere do you see it anywhere. You see that. So at the full, the trumpet at the new, not new moon, at the new month, blow up our solemn feast day. Or on our solemn feast day, blow up at the full the trumpet at the new month. That's basically what this is telling you. The root word of Kudash or month is Kadash, which is H2138 in Strong's. Kadash is translated in English as to renew or new. Thus, its usage as a term new month. Barashit or Genesis 8:5. And the waters decrease continually until the 10th month, right? H2320. In the 10th month of the first day of the month, H2320, were the tops of the mountain seen. Shemut or Exodus 19:1. In the third month, H2320. That's that word. When the children of Yashra'al were gone forth out of the land of Mizraim, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. That is the word. Wa'ikra or Leviticus 23:5. In the 14th day of the first month, again, H2320. At evening is Yahuwah's Pesach. So as we see over and over again, this word we were using here, that's what this means. Even a detailed examination of a physical copy of the King James Version or the KJV reveals the addition of the word moon. In the printed text, you will all notice that the word moon is italicized. This means that it was not an original part of the text, but was rather added or inferred by the translator. This verse, like all the rest, only has the word new, meaning Kadash, there, and the word moon is italicized. Right, so let's read Yekazakal or Ezekiel 46:1. Thus says Yahweh Elohim, the gate of the inner court that looks toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Shabbat it shall be open in the day of the new moon will be italicized. Go open your books, check it out. It shall be open. It just means the new month. It shall be open. Nothing with moon. The word Yara'ik is not there, not in the language. This is a translation error, intentional one, I believe. in Devarim or Deuteronomy 16:1. Observe the month. Again, H2320 of Abib, right? They don't say the new month, the month right there. And keep Pesach to Yahweh Elohim, for in the month, H2320 of Abib, Yahweh Elohim brought you out of Mizraim by night. The children of Yashar'al were taken out after the Pesach, which is the 14th day of the first month, as covered in Wayikra in the study and all over the scriptures. If the word Kudash, H2320, actually referred to a new moon, then it simply could not refer to the start of a month, because the 14th day of the month is the middle of the month. So if you took you out on H2320, this cannot mean new moon. It has to mean the beginning. It can't mean that. Right? So hopefully we've successfully discredited the lunar and Gregorian calendars at this point. So the next time we go into the discussion, we can move on to pinning down the Shabbat and the festival days and all the other kind of stuff, and plotting our calendar. But this first part was very important because I wanted people to be able to look at this and see what we were talking about here. So that's basically the study right there. And I pray that some of this information, I know it was a lot of information. It was a lot for me, certainly. And I hope this touched people and they could look at this and check it out. Because a lot of the stuff, like I said, some of it is scribal errors, true, but a lot of it is intentional. And what they're doing is they're trying to overlay their worship system over to what was there before. They're trying to make it their own. So we have to be very careful. And we're labeling things pagan, all this to do this. You got to, we argue about we're supposed to watch the full dark moon versus the crescent moon, whatever. It's all pagan, all of it. None of it had anything to do with them. They were to worship. They were to worship the days that were allotted on the Enochian calendar using the sun only, right? So that's it. That's what I got. And like I said, next time we continue to study, we can get into some deeper things about the calendar and really I want to show people how to use this stuff. I appreciate your time.
Oh man, that was wonderful, brother. Most High bless. At the end of the day, for our people edification is, to wake us up and to also dialogue. If anybody saw anything wrong about what he said, put in the comments section. You're welcome to come back on. What I'm doing is I'm building a base. So if anybody send anything nobody like, next time they come on, or I'll set up a show where we have a round table. Everybody has my email where we can go into that. Anybody brought up anything they saw they didn't appreciate or they just saw a difference, then we have what we call a round table. And everybody will keep it respectful, have a round table. And that's how we move forward, man. All this bickering and stuff just ain't working. Even I'm learning that. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was a wonderful lesson, brother. You said you got like 3 more parts. I'm intrigued on hearing it because I actually saw some of it. No, I saw the whole, not all 4, but I saw a part. And that's why I asked you to do this again because
no problem.
And for me, I don't worship none of that stuff. I don't. That's just me. But very interesting. I just thank you, man, for coming on and doing what you do. And Most High will, you and the brothers be back on next week. Next week, if the brother is up to it, I asked him to put his 10 toes in the ground and stomp down that chart, because
no problem.
Right. It's cold. Hey, we can use this charcoal for the fire, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like I said, that's not to, again, I'm not trying to belittle anybody's belief, but that's low-hanging fruit. We can get that one in easy. That's nothing.
Yeah, I pee on that fruit, bro. I've been peeing on that fruit. I pee down, So yeah,
that's real easy. A study of history, the text, and that gets squashed fairly easy. But I'm looking at some of these comments and I see like people, saying, it's what is this? Way too much scripture tells us with the sun, moon, and stars to be used for signs, right? So it tells you for signs, seasons, and Shabbatot or Sabbaths, right? It doesn't tell you you're supposed to use them all to figure out your Sabbaths, and your festivals and whatnot. It says all of them. Do you use the stars for your Sabbaths? Of course not, right? That's why I brought up Yehubalim or Jubilees, because it specifically, we'll get into that to the next time we study this, it specifically tells you use the sun only. The Enochian calendar, whether people like the book of Enoch or not, that is your only calendar, okay? That is your only calendar. The main reason why people have reverted to this new mania or new moon way of keeping their days is because there's no calendrical system in the Bible. It just tells you this is the beginning of the month for you. It doesn't tell you when that starts. It doesn't. So you have to guess that. That's because the people were reading Canuck. They were reading Enoch. They had the calendar on hand. So it wasn't nothing to them to go look at it and go see what it was.
Let me say something real quick. Real quick. I'm sorry, Select.
No,
Michael wanted to be on the round table next time, and my brother Yesharel said, "Beware of anyone teaching to disregard what the Most High set in place from the beginning. The star, the moon. The sun, the moon, and the star." Genesis 1:14 through 18. Hey, look, for me, it's a lot of people that believe in what the brother teaches, and a lot of people believe in what you just said. I have my opinion. Everybody know my opinion. I'm just trying to be neutral at this point so we can have that dialogue, and I just hope each and every one of us that come on, if you can't answer it when they bring out the scriptures, then bow down gracefully to the truth, not man. So both of you brothers, welcome to come on the next. Maybe we can do that in 2 weeks. Set something like that in 2 weeks. Nobody has yet to come on and spoke on the last class you brothers did on eating meat. I heard a lot of chatter. I hear a lot of people stumping, and that's all they're doing is stumping in place like babies. So somebody please come forward. Don't make FOP have to come forward and challenge our own brother, man. But it's a lot of stuff we agree with.
I tell anybody, let's look. Everything for me is up on a chopping block. Please. If it's something I'm saying that you don't agree with, and I'm not saying the Most High created something pagan. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is using the new moon is pagan. That's what I proved that historically. I showed you where it came. It came from the Greeks. And your people, Yashar, they wrote about it. They said that that's wrong. That's after the Gentiles, after the foreigners, the heathens, after their era, right? So if you use a new moon calendar, your year is 354 years. How are you using a 364-day calendar? You can't.
Let me interrupt you for real quick. My apologies to Alicia Yesharel. I'm sorry, okay. I just went on look right at the last name. My bad.
Right.
If I could see the face real good, I would have done that. So hello, sis. Go ahead, bro.
So is the Star of David evil? The Star of David. Wait, you talking about the star that the Masonites used for the Leningrad Codex that you talking about? Put it like this. Historically, Yashar had nothing to do with that 6-sided, 6-point, 6-triangle star. Nothing. There's nothing historical about that. You can go back thousands of years. You can go all the way up to the 1st century. They had nothing to do with it at all. Period. That star wasn't used until, like I just said, the Masonite period. At that point in history, all of Yashar was from the area. They were all gone. This is the truth. And I know, again, that people use it, whatever. I'm not even trying to argue the point. I'm just saying you was historically true. You won't find anything in archaeology. You won't find anything in the, the archaeological record, any of the texts, anything like that have anything to do with that at all.
Let me let you back or land me back on that because
of course, please.
Because we've done numerous of classes on it, and for FOP, we don't call it a star, and I think that's the main thing that people make a mistake on. They say the Star of David, and you don't find the Star of David in the scriptures. You could deal with the lily, you could deal with what we call the pomegranate. How a pomegranate shape.
Sure. We see that in nature all the time. Absolutely.
Right,
absolutely.
Right. So that's what we deal with, and some people may disagree with that, and that's fine too. But we would gladly take on the questions.
My honest opinion, for real talk. There's so many bigger issues to be dealing with.
No doubt.
To me, like I'm not trying to I'm trying to answer the brother's question. Abner, Michael, Israel. Right. So that's all I'm trying to deal with that. Is the Star of David evil? Whatever. I'm just telling you that historically that emblem that is being used is used for the state of Israel. It had nothing to do with Yashar. That's all I'm saying. Now, whether you want me to say it's evil, is a picture evil or not? I mean, to each their own on that. I'm not here to fight that. I don't particularly utilize it simply because it's not historically accurate to say that anybody of the people actually use that. And as far as so the sun and moon and stars are evil. When did I say that? I mean, I didn't say that either. I never made that comment at all, ever, at any point in this did I ever say that. All I'm simply saying, and I'll repeat it again, is that the use of the new moon for a calendrical system is pagan, meaning it is from the Goyim, it is from the heathens, it is from foreigners, particularly the Greeks, about 750 BCE. It had nothing to do with ancient Yashra'al or the ancient Israelites. Nothing.
Well, let me ask you this. Because you can go like they got the Moabite stones, and Professor Lee is supposed to be coming on Saturday, Most High will, to launch his book on Amazon, and he's going to do his first show on our channel. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
But, yeah, so now you can go into the Moabite stones and many other stones in the caves, and you see that same symbol that people will call a star or the pomegranate or the lily and so on.
Sure.
In the scriptures, but you see these ancient writings before, if you want to say Europeans.
Oh, yeah.
Before they was even on the scene,
right?
To come up with these symbols, 100%. Like right now, right? Like they use they changed the what they call it, the rainbow into an alphabet sign. All these damn alphabets, LBD, all these damn signs. You know what I mean? So the scriptures say they turn good into what? Evil.
Absolutely.
But so if you can answer this real quick without going to a heavy conversation about it, what about the stones that we see before the people came up with that paganism that you spoke?
Absolutely. What I was referring to, as I stated before, I'll repeat that one more time. You will never see ancient Yashra'al or the Israelites use that for faith-based worship or anything like that. They didn't deal with that. Now, the Moabites, they did. Now, we know the Moabites was heavily into some raw stuff, right? Them and Amun and Ammonites, they were all into all kind of stuff. And that stuff absolutely predated the Masoretic period, no doubt. But like I was also explaining, the Idumeans or the Masorites, the Edomites of the first century and beyond, all they did was take things that were older than them. The crescent moon in star worship, that goes back thousands of years before they were there, right? So them using that symbol is no different than that. The Moabites were not Yashra'al, and I stand by that statement because it's historically true. Yashra'al or the ancient Israelites did not use it.
Well, okay. One or two more questions.
Please.
Because somebody said that you kind of left us hanging, and the brother did say he has like 4 or 5 lessons just on this topic alone. I know, because I've seen one lesson longer than that. So how do we follow, even though they gave us dates, how do we follow dates now? I mean, from my understanding, we don't know what day it is. A lot of times we saw us a Sabbath. I don't think we really know. You know what I mean?
Right.
So how do we really follow a date? Because I don't think we know, because people say they changed the times.
It's really easy, actually. Oh, I'm sorry. You had something to say, bro?
No, go ahead.
Okay. No, it's really easy, actually, and we can get into it in the upcoming lessons. But I'll just give you the gist of it right here. So the Enochian calendar, or the calendar of Canuck, is a 364-day calendar. Like I gave the example about your birthday, whatever date you're born on. Like I was born on September 8th, right? It was a Friday. The following year after that, my birthday moved one day to Saturday, right? So it keeps moving every one day until you get to leap years, where it moves 2 days, because they add an extra day. They use a 365-day calendar. By them doing it, if you go from your birthday on, let's say you were born on a Shabbat, and it's on a Saturday, right? If you go from your birthday and you go all the way around next year, that's 364 days. I'm sorry. Exactly. 364 days, period. So as long as you use a 364-day cycle, everything will pretty much be even. Now, as your question is, how do we find when our days is and all that stuff? It's simple. You have to use the vernal equinox. It's very simple. The vernal equinox has been the same time immemorial all times. It comes around March 21st, right? Equal day, equal night. Canuck or Enoch talks about it very explicitly. Right.
Yeah.
So after the vernal equinox comes, that's your last day of the year. The next day is your first day of the year. Simply count after the vernal equinox 14 days. There's your Pesach. There's your Passover. And you can keep running it all the way down the line like that until, for all your festivals. They all line up. The calendar that I shared, it lines up everything. There's a few points you will find in the Bible where it talks about certain things that have to happen at a certain time. Like the Day of Atonement happens on the 9th day or the 10th day, and it says your Sabbath is on the 9th day. Now, a lot of people, they try to twist. They say, well, what it really means is, you have your Day of Atonement is on 2 days or whatever. That's not what it says. The thing comes out and tells you beginning, the 10th day is your Day of Atonement. It goes on that day, on the 10th day, on that day. And then it says on the 9th day, you keep your weekly Sabbath. That's what it's talking about. So your 9th day needs to be a weekly Shabbat. The 10th day needs to be the Day of Atonement, right? And then there's another one in I guess it's Numbers. No. Maybe it's Devarim. I'll have to find the actual verse, but there's a few different points in time in the Bible where it plots out exactly when something is, and you can actually use that and retroactively figure out if your calendar system actually lines up. But as I said, all you have to do is just simply use the sun. It's real simple. Our people use sundials. That is found all over archaeology and our civilizations. They use sundials. They knew exactly what it was. It was like an agricultural calendar, if you will, right? So you find a vernal equinox, and as soon as you find that, that's your last day. And that is the 4th day of creation week. So 3 days after your vernal equinox will be your Sabbath. And there's another trick you can do when they do their correction, right? I remember I told you they have leap year. So every leap year goes from 365 days to 366 days. They got to add an extra day to make up for their drift, to bring everything back in alignment. Coincidentally, that February 29th that they add, that's always going to fall on a Shabbat. It's always going to fall on the Sabbath. That's just how the seven, remember, everything is in cycles of 7. That's how it works out mathematically. So you will always find it on leap year, find out whatever day that is that falls on, that's going to be your Shabbat. Look for 3 days after the spring equinox.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's not my expertise. So I always have to. Charles Sham, he's pretty good.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Tobiah, you remember we had a pre-debate or discussion, or actually kind of like a debate, wasn't really a discussion about the whole Star David thing some years ago. I don't know.
I believe so. I do remember that.
Yeah, that's when I did not do PowerPoints and stuff like that. But I got a lot of that information. But I respectfully, agree and disagree with you on the whole premise of that. And it's not a big issue to me because, like I tell everybody, I'm not really a big debater, but I present my information and my research, and I tell people, decide for yourself, because we're not going to look and see everything exactly the same in scriptures, But I do have a PowerPoint on it, and I brought out information about it on different time periods during the Maccabees, the Roman, and different areas where we had it on our ossuaries and things like that when we buried our people, and like I said, I can respectfully agree to disagree with everybody. It's not a big deal because, like I said, I did a lot of research on it, and I don't show biased information. Brought out information where people said that they use it for pagan worship. Some people use it as emblema's against evil, and it's just sometimes I see when people they try to touch on that subject. Sometimes when I see people try to touch on that subject, they only come with biased scholarship, or they only want to prove that it's evil, but never, flip both sides of the coin and let people decide for themselves. For myself, I don't believe that it's a star, because even when me and Elder Panaf study stars in the books that we have, stars don't look like that. And we know that for a fact. But everything has, shape, symbols, and signs that they use. So, like I said, brother, I got nothing but love for you, but, I can agree to disagree with you.
Let me say something real quick. How about this real quick before you leave, brother? It's like, how can I stump him? I think I can stump you on this one right here. Because you use the hey, look, here we go. This is a dummy down one right here. we all, and this is everybody, right? When you read the Bible, we always say birthday, birth, right? But you notice in the scriptures, it never say birthday. They gonna tell somebody age, they always say days old.
Right.
Days old, right? They don't go backwards. Right. We the only one to go back. That's why I don't count my birthday. That's why I don't
keep it.
I'm the same age I was when I was first born.
Yeah, I don't keep it. My children don't either. I don't keep my wife. I don't keep anything that is outside. I don't keep any anniversary or anything that is done yearly, ritualistically. I don't observe anything. So I don't do birthdays. I don't do anniversaries. I don't do any of that stuff. Like my family was like, you a whole Jehovah's Witness out here, something like that. And it's like, I think everybody got a little semblance of truth. You know what I'm saying? Every religion got a little glean of truth. So I don't ever observe that stuff. That don't mean I wouldn't go to somebody's graduation. As long as you're not keeping it every year, I'll be there. It's not a problem. If you're throwing a party for something, I'll go to it. It's nothing like that. If your child has been weaned and I observe that, but I don't do anything ritualistically or on a yearly basis.
So why you got that? I'm looking behind you and I see that cross on your wall.
There ain't no cross in here. Ain't no cross in here. Yeah, ain't no cross in here.
So maybe we can set up something.
I want to touch on one last thing with Shamar, like what Ox said right there. To say like evil. That's a strong word. Like I said, I don't use it and I don't whatever because historically Yashar all didn't use it for that. But I will say there's a caveat to that. A lot of people don't know this historically. Shulamah, and the reason why it gets attributed to Dawood a lot of times or David, right? Shulamah or Solomon, he did have something to do with that symbol, right? In the construction of the temple and finishing the symbol. Now, whether you believe the stories about the ring, what he have or whatnot, whatever, there was association definitely with him with that symbol. There's no doubt about the ring. Right. There's no doubt about that. Like I don't want you thinking I'm trying to say though he didn't do anything like that. I mean the nation in general did not do anything with that. So yes, it is. So for me to sit up there and say, oh, what's evil and what's not, whatever. I'm real careful about how I cast stones at anybody or anything. I'm not really going to say any of that stuff. And even the term pagan, you have to understand what pagan means. Pagan simply means it doesn't align with the Abrahamic religions. Okay, you would call me pagan. You would call me pagan. You would. This is the truth. So I think people misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't ascribe to Judaism. I don't ascribe to Christianity, and I don't ascribe to Islam. I don't really fall in any of those categories. I don't. Ergo, I am a pagan by the very definition of the word. So please understand what I'm saying right there. So I'm sorry.
That's great. So hey man, thanks for coming on. And let me, by the way, this brother is FOP, and for our edification, man, at the end of the day, we just try to get out information, and we don't have to agree all the time. It's how things are, So, hey, look, so Most High will, man, we're gonna see you next Thursday. Put 10 toes in the ground, knock down the chart, or whatever you want to talk about. You and the brotherhood.
Hallelujah.
So get the last word.
Let me say this real quick too. About you see how we could sit there, we could dialogue about something like that easy, but we don't have to fuss each other out, cuss each other out, or call names to one another. It's not, and that's what I'm saying about we can agree to disagree, and we can talk about the different doctrines in Israel, and that's basically how my premise is. Let's share the information. It ain't about who's right or who's wrong, because one thing about this, we're not going to agree on everything, but that don't mean that you're not my brother and I hate you because I don't agree on everything that you're saying, and that's all I want to say.
I appreciate that. And I just want to say that anything that I'm telling y'all, everything that I have read, I've gone over, or that I present as information is something that I rejected. Please understand that. I'm not coming at y'all like I got the keys to the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Like, boom, look at this. I'm dropping all this. That is not what this is at all. Everything from my diet, my observances, what I believe is true historically, whatever, it's something that I was presented with, as I believe a lot of us are, and I didn't accept originally. So I don't ever hold anything. Somebody believes something different than me, it's cool. I'm just like you are, exactly like you are. It's fine. I'm not here to change minds. I'm not trying to be right in a conversation or discussion. I'm just trying to maintain righteousness. That's it. And
I know when me and the brother first met, right? He came to my crib, and I could be wrong. I thought it was you too. It was like, man, H-Town, man, you need to look into that, brother. I don't think they the Israelites like that. And I said, was that you?
Which one? H-Town?
Well, when I say H-Town, I just Hispanic.
Oh no, that was me. I remember I went over there. I talked about that was me, and I was telling you, I was like, the chart. Yeah, I was like, the chart is wrong. I was like, the chart is wrong. I was talking about Paul. That's what when we came up, we were discussing, and that we spent a lot of time, and we were fine just discussing. And he was like, I don't agree with you necessarily, but I'm glad to have a conversation. I had a good time. I did.
I'm glad you said that, because this brother was in my home and we didn't disagree on. We was disagreeing on certain doctrines. Could have found out one of them talking about what's right, but shoot, after that, I don't think he was drinking. I had my glass of wine. We was having fun. Had a great time that night.
I did share in that wine. I'm sorry, I did. Yes, I did partake in that wine. I sure did.
That's what I was saying, though. You can't. When it comes to certain doctrines, brothers just don't want to sit down and talk about it. And that's what the Hebrew Israelite Summits was supposed to be about, discussing the teachings and what we produce to the people. But it turned from that and saying, listen, we might got some errors and some stuff we teach, and we should, make sure it's right, just for the Most High Yahweh's sake and our souls and stuff. And plus, like I said, we don't want to give none of our brothers and sisters inheritance away, or their tribes away, basically saying that they not the people, and confusing their tribe or lineage with somebody else's. That's not right. So that's why we got to retract and make sure everything that we putting out to the masses is correct, because we don't want to leave no descendants of the true royal bloodline out and be giving our real brothers and sisters inheritance away.
Bruh.
I'm glad you said that real quick. I'm glad you said that, because brothers and sisters, hold on to your seats for this, right? If you're standing up, please sit down. If you're sucking on ice, take it out your mouth. All right? Don't take no drink. Sit down. The brothers in Sakari, right? Spiritual brothers in Sakari actually see, and I'm a commentary it, that Samson was a Latino. Man, when I heard that, I could not believe it. The man said,
I'm gonna tell y'all good night. With that one, I'm gonna say good night. Hey, Lala Toad, I appreciate y'all for y'all time.
No doubt.
I'm not even. I'm not addressing that. See you next week. I guess. Shalom. Yep.
Shalom. All right, Shan, you can end it, brother. I'm out of here. Great dialogue. Shalom, family.
Isaiah 58:1. Cry loud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show thy people their transgressions. So I'm a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Yahweh Shai on our side, so don't try to move us. We got next, and this wicked king is almost over. For our people edification, my folks soldier. Isaiah 58:1. Say let the trumpet blow. Hey, we them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. Say let the trumpet blow. It's time to let them know. We them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. To cry loud, spare none, show them transgressions. For my people never considered they the real Jews. History stolen with that whip, got our back bruised. Still dying in the ghettos, got us trapped in this matrix. Time to open up your eyes, it's too real. We can't fake it. The Most High's on its way back soon. The whole reason why we went into slavery, cause we broke the commandments. Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Who is this nation of people? Not the seed of Ham, but the seed of Shem. From the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Revelation 2 and 9. Don't let these fake Jews tell you a lie. In due time, they all bow down. I wanna get my crown and stand firm in this truth. I'm Mashiach Yahweh Shai, that's his Hebrew name. Wasn't no J's in the Hebrew letter. So I carry this truth like I carry my sweater in the winter cold. This what you ain't been told. Esau's cover blown. We let the trumpet blow and let all my ox know that you a set apart nation, ain't compared to none. And when the Most High return, these other nations done. Isaiah 14:1, we gon' possess the land, and they gon' try to cleave. And the Most High said it all is book of prophecy, a hard pill to swallow, but when that light shine, it's real bright, and the Most High is our lifeline. So Kwam Yasharala, rise, O Israel. Hey Kwam Yasharala, rise, O Israel. It's time for you to wake up out your sleep. Romans 13:11, our salvation is near. Lift up thy voice in the streets so the whole world hear. Yeah, so I'm a Hebrew Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Yahweh Shai, he on our side, so don't try to move us. We got next. Hey man, this wicked kingdom almost over. For our people edification, my folks soldiers. Isaiah 58:1, say let the trumpet blow. Say we them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. Say let the trumpet blow, it's time to let them know. We them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. Hey, let the trumpet blow, it's time to let them know. We them Hebrew Israelites, it's time to let them know. Would you denounce wicked traditions or not? Go to church on pagan Sundays, don't keep the Sabbath at all. That's why we standing on these corners, get this message to y'all. That you living in the wicked world, they knowledge is flawed. Full of satanic practices, the Vatican worship the Black Madonna on the low. While we die from Planned Parenthood, this is woe. Why you think we quoting scriptures, going head up with the beast, spreading righteousness, oops, leaving our enemies duped. This institution is through. We got the spirit of a lion and the power of Yeshaya. There's no way we could expire. I'm on fire. The Messiah is the root of the fire that be all up in my bones. And the prophet ain't respected at his home, but the truth won't stop. Don't try to make us to be wrong. And the scriptures bear witness to the things that we speak. Blow them trumpets, blow them trumpets, we them Israelites, man, and we 12 tribes deep. Hear the message that we speak. Blow them trumpets, we them Israelites, man, and we 12 tribes deep. Hear the message that we speak.